shine on Happy Camper Life. We're loving, living, and learning online on Happy Camper Life.
Hey everybody, this is David with Happy Camper Live, and today we have an amazing person we're going to be talking with. She's a performing artist, a dancer, a choreographer, a mom, and a wonderful person. Let's say hello to Lisa Langford.
Hello.
I'm doing all the clapping for us. How are you, Lisa?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is our pleasure. So you've had a long experience being a performer. You've been in the musical theater world. Tell us a little bit how you began your journey and now we'll get to this later, but how you're now doing what you love, which is, of course, everybody's dream. So tell us how you started, how you got into it, and we'll go from there.
So according to my parents, I have always been dramatic. So, and, just a little bit of, one of those kids that always likes to look at me. And, so I very vaguely remember this, but my very first solo that I sang in front of a crowd was actually at church when I was 4 years old. So I was one of those precocious kids, and I wasn't shy about singing in front of people and things. And so I just went ahead and did it. And we were involved in all that kind of stuff at our church because my parents are actually both singers. So they had both been singers before they met, and, did a lot of singing together when I was a kid. So, of course, I naturally followed in their footsteps. And then when I was about 7, one of my best friends at school was taking this style of dancing, and she was like, "Oh, you should come with me. It's friend week at the dance studio and you should come with me." So I went with her and I really enjoyed it, and I got into that. And that was a style of dance called clogging. So I didn't actually start my dance career and all of that with, ballet and tap and jazz like a lot of other people do. Clogging is kind of technically an Appalachian folk dance. It's got a lot of history.
Like the river dance where you see a lot of
it's got a lot of history from like Ireland and Scotland and the settlers that came over, and it kind of evolved like what they did with Scottish jig and the Irish step dancing, like river dance. Yeah, it kind of evolved into this clogging. So I really liked it, and I kept doing it. And then actually my friend that got me into it quit, and I kept doing it. And so this was a couple years down the road, and I had found another group, and they had a performing group. So I was like, well, I want to perform. Sign me up. So I started performing with that group, which was called the Steppin' Out Cloggers. So yeah, we did a lot of country music. Yeah, a lot of country music.
So let me get this straight. You were clogging to country music.
Yeah.
Wow. What a world we live in.
Rocky Top. Rocky Top.
Oh yeah. Well, my wife is a Tennessee volunteer, so we have
there you go.
Rocky Top in this house.
So yeah, which is funny because country's not even really my my favorite thing, but I loved doing. So it's very similar, for anybody that doesn't have any clue what I'm talking about. It's similar to tap, but it has a lot more sound to it. And the shoes that we wore were like tap shoes, but they had an extra tap on the toe and the heel. So instead of just one tap on the toe and one tap on the heel, like a regular tap shoe, it had the extra one and it was loose. So it made a lot of extra sound.
Neat.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It was fast paced. It was fun. Like we had fun dances. It was a great group. It was a really good experience for me as a kid, because it was a family group. It was an all ages group. And we performed with the Navy Band Orchestra when the naval base was here in Orlando still. We were out there every 4th of July. We got called out to perform at, a bunch of different New Year's parties. Anytime people would, have a country type theme or a country Western type theme. So when I was 13, they actually asked me to join their professional group. And then I started getting paid to perform.
That's
That was
amazing.
really awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. And they had a great name too. The professional group was called Rare Footage.
Oh, that's cute. Oh, clever. So do
Very
you do any
clever.
clogging nowadays?
To my mother's dismay, not really.
Oh, because I know, like, I believe it's Geico or one of the insurance commercials have brought clogging back, and they say, "Oh, we have a clogging problem," and that is a really funny commercial.
I love that commercial, and every time it comes on, my mom tells my daughter, "Your mommy can do that."
So when you watch commercials like that, do you go, "Oh, they're not technically correct," or do you say, "Oh, they're pretty talented"?
No, I usually only look at it and go, "Our costumes were so much better than that."
That's awesome.
We had that was the 80s and the 90s when country went, like really glitzy.
Right. That was right. Right. Of course.
Yeah. So we had some really glamorous costumes, very big poofy skirts and feathers in the hair. And, it was that kind of whole deal.
Like Dolly Parton clogging.
Yes.
Okay.
Big hair. Yes. Always the big hair.
Okay. So you were already a professional dancer at 13. So what happens next in Lisa's world?
So I started high school, and that's when I actually started getting into theater. Well, my dad actually ran a singing group for high schoolers, and so I was in his singing group and I was clogging. And then about the time I got to my senior year, my best friend in high school and I decided we were going to go audition for some shows with a community theater group. And so we did that, and I got into Guys and Dolls. That was the first show I did with them. And I was basically a backup dancer for the show, which was funny because I had never done, musical theater dance, but they couldn't really tell because I'm a very visual person. So if you do something for me, then I can do it. So I just started picking up, and I ended up, besides just being in one scene or like two scenes as one of the hot box girls, I ended up in the Havana scene dancing in the background, and I ended up dressing up as a boy for the crapshooters dance because we didn't have enough boys that could actually dance, and so they put hats and jackets on all the girls and put us.
Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Gotta do what you gotta do, yeah. So I had such a great experience with that as well because again, it was a community group and it was all ages. We had some professional performers from Disney and other places that were doing it just kind of for fun. And then there was a ton of us high school kids in it. So I did Guys and Dolls with them. And then I did Oklahoma with them. And then I decided that I wasn't going to major in education anymore when I went to college. I was going to major in theater.
Okay. As you did.
With dance as a minor.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so that's kind of what happened with that. I had originally planned on studying education, and I had kind of put it in like drama and secondary education. And I was like, nah, we're going to nix the education stuff and I'm just going to do straight theater. And at the time, my school, that I went to only had a dance minor. So by the time I finished, I was actually one of the first 2 dance majors to graduate from Palm Beach Atlantic University because about my junior year, they got it approved and added some courses to it and were able to turn it from a minor into a major. So then I double majored because all my extra electives I took were dance classes. So I had enough credits to be able to go ahead and get the dance major. So my friend Lauren and I in college were the first 2 dance majors to graduate from Palm Beach Atlantic University in 2002.
Neat. So
yeah.
when you were when you decided I'm going to put education aside, I'm going to go full theater, full performing arts, what was your professional goal at the time? What made you choose that?
I'm not sure I actually had a professional goal at the time. I just kind of had this feeling that I wouldn't be as good at doing the things that I wanted to do, even if I still went into education, if I didn't just fully study that and really dive into it and get the full experience. Because with the drama secondary education major, a lot of what I had to do was still all these education courses and things, which wasn't bad or anything. But then I was worried about, well, what if I don't have time to be in shows, and what if I don't have time to learn the backstage side because I'm you know so busy doing these other things. And so I was just, I think in the back of my mind, I was a little concerned that I wasn't going to get the full amount of training that I needed to go on, either to be an educator still, or to be a director and a choreographer and do other things besides just be on stage. Because one of the things that I loved about my school was that you were required in the theater major and in the dance major to take everything. You had to learn all the technical aspect. You had to learn all the behind the scenes. You couldn't just be a performer, because they said, this is your field. This is what you love. What if all of a sudden one day you can't be on stage anymore? You're just going to walk away and leave it all behind? No, there's
Right.
so many other things you can do to still be involved in what you love.
Well,
So that's kind of why I went that
awesome.
route, even though I don't consciously think I had a career goal, but that's kind of why I did that, because I figured even if I end up not performing, I have all these other things that I've learned and I can expand on later as I get older.
Yeah, no,
So,
it makes a lot of sense. And also I think that was your passion, because obviously you
yeah.
thought, oh, I'll be an educator. And then you were like, no, a lot of people who are in the performing arts, that's the only thing that they want to do. And if
Yes.
if they go to school for it or they don't go to school for it, it's like there's nothing else that matters, because you want to be on stage, you want to, provide an art and share it with the world. So it sounded like that was where you were going for. And obviously now you're still doing it. So I want to get to the
Yeah.
part. So here you are a couple of years later after college,
Just a
and
couple.
you know, um, so now still doing, you're still doing dance, you're still doing performing arts. It's wonderful. So how do you think there was a moment anytime after college and now that you thought, this was fun, I'm going to go try something else? Or you said, there's no way, I'm plowing forward. This is
I
my passion.
actually,
I love it.
I did for a little while. Yeah, I did kind of a few years ago, back in 2009. I took a little break. And a lot of the reason I took a little break was just because of the economic downturn at the time. There wasn't a lot of demand for what I did. There wasn't as much demand. And so, I had to make ends meet. And since I couldn't do it doing what I had done, for the whole time, I decided to study something else that I was interested in, that I discovered in college, which was makeup. But instead of for theater, I did, fashion makeup and things like that. So I worked for a very short period of time at a retail store.
Okay.
Woo! That was interesting. And then I actually went to the Breakers in Palm Beach, and I worked off and on there as a makeup artist in there. They have a high-end boutique there called the Guerlain Boutique. It's the French line. And everybody, instead of just working retail, everybody there is required to actually be a makeup artist, because if anybody listening is familiar or not familiar with the Breakers Palm Beach, it's a 5-star luxury resort on Palm Beach Island. And the very super rich people come there and take their vacations, and they all like to have their makeup done when they go to their parties or for photo shoots or this or that. So we were required, to actually be makeup artists. And so I worked there off and on for about 5 years, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I had I met a lot of really cool people. It was a great place to work. But I even, like I did that, like I said, off and on for about 5 years. I also worked totally randomly for a healthcare institute for about 2.5 years. And that had absolutely nothing to do with my performing arts career at all. But I was on the phone a lot talking to people, and they loved me on the phone because I like to talk and I have a theater degree. So I'm good at talking.
You're you.
And then the other thing they ended up having me do was when I originally took the job, they said travel is a portion of it. We do send our, people that are back in the education office, to the seminars. You'll probably be traveling maybe 25-50% of the time. Well, funny enough, apparently I was good enough in front of a crowd and talking to people and all of this and that I ended up actually traveling about 75% of the time while I had that job.
Oh, that's neat. So where did you get to go? Did you get to see the world or the country? Or
No, mostly just the country. I got to go all over the United States. Let's see. I went to DC a bunch of times. I went to New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Seattle, Sacramento, some
big
random
cities?
places in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Texas. I got to go to Dallas, Houston, and Austin in Texas. So I got, the big three cities in Texas. I had a couple cities that I did repeats a lot though. Like I went to DC like 6 times because I really loved that group of people that were there. And, I had some friends in the area too. So that was also kind of nice. Our boss that was in charge of us was like, oh, sure, you can go to that city if you've got friends there, because then what I could do is I could stay a couple of extra days and hang out with people that I knew. And it was nice. It was a flexible job. So yeah, I got to see a lot of cool stuff. I'm trying to remember. I feel like I went a lot more places than what I told you, but I can't remember.
That's okay. So during your on-off times when you were working other jobs, what do you think called you back to your performing arts career? Was it just that more work became available, or were you like, what am I doing? I need to dance, or I need to teach, or what do you think that was?
At that point in time, I hadn't stopped performing. So I was still rehearsing with the group that I was dancing with at the time, Preston Contemporary Dance Theater. We only rehearsed one night a week. We kind of worked on a project by project basis. So if we would get a project that was offered to us or a performance, then we would get together and, rehearse for it until we were ready. So I was still rehearsing with them from like 7 o'clock to 10 or 10:30 on Tuesday nights. And then I would go home and finish packing and get up at 4 o'clock the next morning to be at the airport, to fly out at 7 a.m. So I was still performing at the time. I just wasn't teaching. And then I did finally stop performing when I got pregnant with my daughter because of sciatica. So that was fun.
Okay. So wait, what I think everybody wants to know is when did you start becoming a choreographer? And even though I'm sure you had it in you for many years, but everybody always remembers their first class or their first lesson or their first, when you're a teacher or choreographer. Tell us about that. And the pros and cons when you look back and went, oh my gosh, what was I doing? Or, and I feel really good about that. I think I can do this.
So the dance teacher that owned the company that I performed with, Preston Contemporary Dance Theater, she always made us choreograph for our finals in college. She was one of my professors in college.
Okay.
And I have randomly seen some of those videos back and forth then. And I'm like, how did I even pass this class? What was I doing? It's so funny how you evolve. But I started teaching my senior year in college at Klein Dance in Lake Worth. And I apprenticed with one of the owners there. She was training me to teach the classes that she was teaching. So that I could end up taking over for them. So she could, be in the office on Saturday mornings and working with their dance company. And they also had a professional company there. So, once you become a dance teacher at a studio, there's this recital thing and you have to choreograph whether you want to or not. And so it was very challenging for me at first, especially because I had a lot of young kids and, as long as you make them look cute, you're good. But um, there was definitely a learning curve on, figuring out how to get them to do what you want them to do and at the right time.
Yeah.
And remember it from week to week. There was definitely a learning curve. And then as I went on, when I went to Atlantic Arts Academy, which was based in Jupiter, I was there for 7 years. What I really appreciate about my first two jobs at a dance studio was they both had specific curriculum that they taught, especially to their younger kids. And when they would bring new teachers in, they would train us in the curriculum that they wanted us to teach, which really helped me as a teacher. Because you go to college and you take all these dance classes and you do all this performing, but not everybody really gets taught how to teach.
Right.
They just kind of regurgitate what they remember their dance teachers doing. And, maybe not their dance teachers weren't actually taught to teach either. So, they might have been an amazing performer, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to be an amazing teacher. So, working with them and having them go through specifically, these are the skills that we want this level to learn. These are the skills we want this level to learn. These are these skills, going through that, being walked through that at two different studios, really helped me grow as a teacher. And really, I feel like, especially at Atlantic Arts, that's when I really started getting actually passionate about being a dance teacher, because their program really worked and you could see the results from the kids who started when they were 3 years old and went through the 3-year-old program, the 4-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old. And then when they were 7, they got to go into level 1 and they weren't in the little kid program anymore. And you could see the progression of the kids and just where they were technically when they were 7 years old, as opposed to kids who had never danced before coming in at age 7, or kids who had danced at other studios. And that really just kind of intrigued me and really got me into the science of why we teach what, when, and, exactly how to teach it. And so, I think that time period at Atlantic Arts was when I really started getting passionate about teaching and seeing my students make some breakthroughs, during the year. Like, they couldn't do this at the beginning of the year, but by the middle of the year, I had them doing this, and we get to the recital. And I remember I had this one class of kids, they were a tap class. And I had all the girls in that class from the time they were 3. They did pre-ballet 1 with me. They did pre-ballet 2 with me. And then they came when they were 5 and they did the ballet tap. And then when this particular group got to age 6, they split the classes. They weren't doing combo anymore. So they had an hour ballet class with me, and then they took an hour tap class. And their tap class, they were so focused. They worked so hard. They loved it so much. I told them, they were like, we don't want a baby costume. We're 6. We're almost 7. Some of us already turned 7. We don't want a babyish costume. We want costumes like the big girls. And I said, okay, I will get you a big girl costume, but you have to do a big girl dance, which means you have to work really hard and you can't complain. And you have to, when I say do it again, you can't say you're tired because you want a big girl costume. So they did. And they did this amazing dance. Everybody was like, their dance was as good as the tap 2 class. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, those are 6-year-olds. And so it was just so cool to me, having been their teacher from the time they were 3 to the time they were 6, and seeing, how that progression went and how the skills just built. And it gave them the passion too. They saw the older girls. That's why they were all still there. And they were like, we want to do that. We don't want a baby costume. I was like, all right, I got you.
Well, it sounds like it ignited an even bigger passion outside of just performing arts or being a performer, it kind of inspired you to say, I think I'm going to go with this because, like you said, that there was something that intrigued you and it clicked and stuff like that. I will ask the question, of course. So you have a daughter now, and she's about right
She's
beside
also
you.
in the room too.
Hi. So tell us how she has influenced your teaching. Hi.
Hi.
How has she influenced you in teaching and your all the things that you're doing nowadays?
Well, of course, she's a huge part of my life here. So it's interesting now as a parent to teach kids, especially kids this age, because when you're young and not so smart, sometimes you say some things to kids and then you are a parent and you're like, did I really say that to kids? Well, shh. Like maybe I should rethink the way I put that, because would I really want a teacher saying that to my child? I don't know. And not that it's anything bad. It's just that, it's when you see your own child struggling to understand something, or, seeing how they interact with other people, then you really, your teaching kind of takes on a different dynamic then, because it really hits home that this is somebody's child.
Sure.
And I want this to be a positive experience for them. I want them to love this. I want them to have a good time. And I think it kind of, just makes your job as a teacher a little bit deeper on a different level when you are, thinking to yourself now, these aren't just my dance students. These are someone's, it's someone's precious, precious cargo. And you want to make sure that, not only are you teaching them what you need to teach them, but that you're providing them a positive and a safe place to be and to express themselves and to, to be included and all of that. So, there's the being hard and the workhorse side of it when you get to that certain level, but there's also, wanting to be that favorite person, that person that they're like, oh, I loved my dance teacher when I was a kid. It's a little more important to me now because I remember it, from when I was a kid, and then I see my daughter with my boss at my current studio. My daughter Holly has actually been going to the studio with me since she was 2, because I never had babysitters when she was 2. So I call my boss and go, can I bring my daughter with me and while I teach? She's like, oh, sure, she's fine. She's like, I've always had, so she's just the studio baby. It's fine. Somebody will take care of her.
Anyways, who takes
She thinks she's getting interviewed now. Not unlike her mother at all at this age. This is why I'm saying this is what my parents are like. Oh, she's just like you.
So now you've moved from clogging and theater.
Yes.
Now you've gone to choreographing and dancing and teaching, and now I understand you're teaching fitness and some like dance style fitness classes. Is that right?
Yes, I actually just a few months ago got certified to teach Zumba.
Mm-hmm.
Which is Latin dance based. And I had done, some ballroom over the years too. And my younger brother actually competed in ballroom when he was in high school in his early college years. And so I would always dance with him when I would come home to visit and practice. And then I started taking Zumba, just to kind of get back in shape after having a baby and moving and, all the things that, make us go, what's the gym? I have no time for that. All those things. I was like, okay, I'm going to get back in shape. But for me, because I'm a dancer, because, when I was in college, I really, even though I loved theater and still had that passion for that and musical theater, I really found my passion with modern dance and with jazz dance. And after college, I actually didn't really do that much theater anymore. I really just went into the dance. So when I decided I was going to get back into shape, I was like, I can't just go to the gym and like do the treadmill and lift weights. That's so boring to me. I have to do something fun. I have to do something exciting. Zumba. Let's get in shape by Latin dancing. I was all for it. So I finally had been saying for years I wanted to get certified. And so I just a couple of months ago got certified to teach Zumba. And I'm working on a group fitness exercise certification as well, because that is required. I can teach privately, but if I want to go teach in like a gym or at a YMCA or something like that, I have to have a group fitness certification. So I'm working on that as well.
So do you think that your experience teaching, have you been able to teach at least privately some Zumba?
A little bit, yeah, mostly on Zoom, thanks to the pandemic. So it's not quite as much fun as it is in person, but it is so much fun. It's just is you forget you're working out, because if you like dancing, um, everything is choreographed in a way to give you a full body workout. You don't have to use weights or anything. You sweat, but you have so much fun while you're doing it, and the music is fun while you're listening to it, that you really kind of forget that you're working out. And I think that's why so many people have really, like, it's pretty popular. It's pretty popular up here in the Central Florida area. And when I first started taking it, when I would go to the class, I'd come home and I'd say to my mom, you should come to Zumba with me. And she's like, oh no, I'm too old for that. And I was like, no, you are not. Let me tell you how old some of these people are at this class at the YMCA. Okay.
Well, that sounds cool. Do you think teaching dance fit, or let's just say Zumba is, because I'm listening to you speak about your teaching and how, you've grown and matured, not just as a person, but as a teacher. And it's really fascinating to hear. Do you think that teaching Zumba is like the next level of your passion for teaching and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think as I get older and as my daughter gets a little bit older, one reason was kind of selfish, just because I was like, oh well, if I'm gonna keep teaching and deal with all the body aches and pains that come as we age and things, I was like, I might as well be getting in shape while I'm teaching, because
Great way
why
of looking
not?
at it.
Why not kill two birds with one stone? But again, with how I kind of process things, with how I go about things, I have gotten really interested in the science behind the Zumba and how it makes the body work, and how, let's be honest, like I said, I am not a person that will go to the gym and work out. I really I can't stand going and just standing on an elliptical machine and then lifting weights. It's just, there's nothing, it doesn't engage my brain enough. So, just thinking about the whole thing, well, if Zumba can make me totally forget that I'm working out, that's really, a tool that can be really helpful, to other people. And one of the courses that I'm going to be taking actually after I finish my group fitness certification, I'm going to actually be taking a course about women's fitness, and specifically for women and the challenges that we face once we get to whatever this middle age thing is called. Not sure what that's all about, but it's really interesting to me to, now I kind of want to, take my passion for, me loving Zumba and, be able to take it and, help other people, feel good about themselves again, and really kind of get into the why and the how. Women, my age start working out, but nothing's working for us. And so now I'm all like, the wheels are turning in a different way. How can I use this to, kind of get around these problems that we have as we age, and, have us all feeling better and being healthier and feeling good about ourselves. And I think part of it too is that I really want to make sure I'm living a healthier lifestyle, to be there. I am a slightly older mother than a lot of other people my age have kids in, high school already. And I've got a 6-year-old. And I want to make sure that I'm living a healthy lifestyle so that I'm around for her life, not, not having health problems when she's a teenager, when I'm in my, I don't even want to say it, when I'm in my 50s and she's a teenager, So
Right.
there's a whole bunch of different things that, once I started getting into the science of studying the Zumba and how they do it, I'm hopefully going to be getting certified in a few of their other courses that they teach. There's one that's like a high intensity interval training. There's also Zumba for the older generation. They call it, I love it, they call it Zumba Gold.
That's clever.
Yes, very clever. I love it. And they even have an aquatics class for Zumba for
Oh,
people who can't do high impact.
fun.
So there's so many different directions, but it's all still dance based.
Nice.
And that's what I love about it, because you can go do this workout and everybody forgets they're working out. It's just like you're having a party and you're dancing with your friends. And then you're like, oh yeah, I feel that.
So with all the stuff you have had that you've done, and now you're on the same path, but it veers a little bit to the left and the right.
Mhm.
One other thing that people probably don't know about you is you also participate at summer camp as a
I
dance teacher.
do.
So I really want to know, like, how have you embraced camp, and do you love it? Do you tell us more about how camp has touched your life?
So yeah, the camp, I had never experienced a camp that was that long in as a child. I had gone to sleepaway camp, but I think the longest I was ever gone was maybe like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole concept was really different to me, to be with, the same group of kids for the whole summer, which I also thought was really cool. And I loved it. It was a lot of work, but I loved it. It was fun to be able to, it was almost like a miniature, for me, kind of doing what I did with teaching classes to some of the different bunk groups that would rotate in, but then also having the dance teams for the camp. It was kind of like cramming a year at the studio into like 7 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
But it was fun.
What do you think the most challenging aspect of it was this last time you were there?
Definitely getting the competition teams ready. Just trying to, there's the whole saying in the performance world, if you go on stage feeling well rehearsed, there, like nobody really ever goes on stage. You always kind of still wish you had one more week, no matter who you are. I feel like I feel like there's something wrong if you go on stage and you're like, yeah, I'm there. And because me personally as a performer, I'm always like, I could have run that one more time. Could have practiced a little bit more. So, just the scheduling and trying to, make sure that, we were done with our choreography in enough time for them to be able to rehearse it. So they felt confident to go to the 2 competitions that they went to. That was definitely challenging for me because it really snuck up on you fast. We were like, oh, it's time.
What amazes me and is so mind-boggling is, like, I hear you talking about what's challenging is like putting the stuff together. And I'm thinking, how in the world do you just like come up with dances for these kids? And the choreography part feels like, oh, I'm just gonna pull it from my file cabinet and I'm gonna make it all new and shiny and new. Here you go. Like, that part is the mind-boggling part, but that seems like second nature to you.
Well, it does help that I teach dance all year too. So I do have some tricks up my sleeve that I have filed away that I can go, this combination worked really well with this age group at home. So I'm going to try it at camp and see if these kids like it. I also had an amazing staff that was very talented with what they did. My girls that were my assistants with the dance program were all extremely talented in their own right with choreography for fields. I was really, I kind of just let him go with it. I think one thing that's nice about being older, when you get to a certain age as a dance teacher, you're more willing to delegate when you see that people have the talent. When you're younger, you're kind of like, no, 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 I want it to be all me. I'm going to take care of it. But I worked with my girls before the kids got there, and I saw some of their ideas, and I was like, go to town. I love it. You're so creative. It's awesome. The kids are going to love it, So I trusted them, and they were so good about coming to me and going, what do you think of this? Do you like this? Is this okay for the kids? I was like, yeah, that's great. So we had a really great teamwork thing going on there, so that nobody was responsible for all of the choreography, because
You're right.
that would have exploded my head a little bit.
Do you think that kids back at your studio at home and the same age kids at camp, do you think that they're about in the same place? The reason I'm asking is in other areas of performing arts, you usually have some sort of standout kid who's like,
Right.
oh my gosh, that person's mind-boggling. But you have commonly a class situation. And I've got to imagine that one of those kids is going to be like a superstar, and you can see it in them even at 5, 6, 7 years old. So how do you handle that when you see that situation?
Make them work really hard. So my studio is a pretty old school studio. We don't do any competitions. We just do performance if the kids audition for company. But so I just recently, not that long ago, the school, I teach music and drama at a school, so I'm just kind of all over the place, The school that I'm teaching at had us do this strengths discovery thing. And I found my top strength, my number one, where I scored the highest, to be really interesting for a dance teacher specifically. I'm a developer. So what that means is that I see things in my students, and apparently one of my strengths is to take what I see, and help them develop it, like help them pull it out and grow. Which I found really interesting, because when I was reading about what a developer meant, I was like, this is why I'm a performing arts teacher, because this is what I do. I see my kids, I see them almost get something, and I'm like, all right, here's how we're gonna make this happen for you. So again, with the whole teaching thing, I really kind of studied how to be a better teacher, trying to communicate the same information more than one way. Because I could say something to you and you could hear one thing, and another student could hear it would go totally over their head, or they don't process information the same way. So, with seeing some of my kids that have really been talented, well, to be honest, I actually gave up the advanced tap class, teaching the advanced tap class at the studio. I went to my boss and I said, they're exhausting me. They've taken everything I know how to do. And tap's really not my number one, even though I started out as a clogger. My specialties are modern and jazz and musical theater. And I was like, I can't. I'm having to watch videos to come up with new stuff to teach them.
Right.
So I said, I said, I'm willing to pull myself out of the tap. You need to get somebody that's going to be able to challenge these kids more, because they're at the end of my level with tap. Now, in regard to other things, like with my specialties and things, pushing them to, I'm at the stage with my kids now at the studio where I'm really having to teach them how to push themselves. When they say they want something, but you see that they're not working hard in class, but they're like so close to getting something. And if they just, it's almost not even teaching them how to dance. Sometimes it's teaching them how to have that good work ethic, and how to try to reach the goals that they say they want to reach. I can't, I tell them all the time, I can't do it for you. If I could jump inside your body and do it, I would, but I can't. That's not possible. Sure. So, here's the information I can give you. And now you gotta, so it's really cool to see when kids all of a sudden start to take ownership of that, and they go, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard, but I can do this if I keep trying, like she says, or if I keep working on it, or if I approach it from a different, mindset. And then you see that light bulb go on and they realize that, now this is, it's becoming their thing, and they're like, oh, I can do this. I am good at this.
I think it's a good lesson for all young people who even are listening to our conversation today, saying, "Oh, I never thought about being a choreographer, but I see how Lisa became one, and maybe I'm going to follow that path." And it's a good lesson, maybe that you didn't mean to teach them, but you did. We're almost about out of time. I just have one more important question for you. And
Yes.
that is, what's Lisa going to do in the next, couple of years? Do you have any other sort of loftier ambitions? Anything else you want to get into? Because I don't think you're busy enough, and I don't think you have enough going on.
I don't do enough.
Yeah. So is there any grand plans for you aside from you and your daughter hanging out and watching her grow older?
Well, I'm kind of launching the whole fitness thing. So, there's kind of that.
Mm-hmm.
And just going to see where that leads and what kind of opportunities that opens up. Interestingly enough, I did start for my own, now that I'm like, it's so funny now that I'm teaching Zumba, I'm like, okay, now I got to find something else to work out with. So I don't get Zumba out completely. So I'm doing kickboxing now, which is super fun. So
Remember that.
not gonna, yes, remember that. Not gonna be a fighter, but it's really fun to do for a good workout. But I don't know. I'd really like to perform again.
That's great.
I've had time off because of, just being a mom and working and, dealing with different, family things here and there. And, performing takes a lot of time and dedication. You have to rehearse, then you have to be available for all the performances. And that's something that was not feasible for me when my daughter was younger. But now that she's sad, getting older,
whopping 7. That's,
I know she's going to be 7 this year. I can't take it. Oh my goodness. It's easier now for me to, be able to start thinking about, hey, I have time. I could actually start looking into performing again. So I think that's also subconsciously why I was like, yeah, let's get back into shape and start doing this fitness stuff. Because if you're going to, especially as a dancer, if you're going to perform, like I've always told my dancers, I don't care what body type you have, as long as your body is healthy and you can, have the stamina to make it through your performance without getting hurt. There's a big stigma in dance about body type, and anybody's a dancer.
Yeah.
You just have to keep your body healthy enough and have the stamina to make it through what you need to do.
That's a very good point, because you definitely see that in the dance world, in the performing world, especially on TV and in movies and things like that. Well, it sounds like you're kind of coming full circle, and you're just, it's neat to see somebody who loves what they do and they're passionate about what they do. And you're just going to continue to see where the performing arts road takes you. And that's really cool.
It's a roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
But it's a good one. So
yeah. Well, thanks so much for taking time today and chatting. And it's been really cool to, just talk about this stuff and see where you came from and see where you're going. It's all very exciting.
Thanks for having me. And if there's one more thing I could say to any kids who are listening, it's okay to not be good at stuff right away. Like I said, if I look back at my choreography videos from college, I think, how did I pass? It's a learning process. It's a journey. Like, the whole performing arts world is always about the journey. And so, don't be frustrated if you try something and you're not very good at it at first. It takes a lot of work. And you just got to kind of stick with it. And if it's something that you're passionate about, go for it. Just keep trying, keep doing it.
That's great advice. Great advice. Well, thank you to Lisa Langford. And remember to join us on happycamperlive.com and on all social media platforms, or wherever you can download or listen to a podcast. You will find Lisa's podcast there. And we look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take a moment to shine.